Hi everyone, Mark Benton from Lone Bull Barbecue here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about barbecue history from my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm going to do my best to recreate a famous rib plate from a man and his restaurant that both died too soon. So Memphis, as you probably know, is the home of the blues, soul, and rock and roll. Also calling Memphis home were W.C. Handy, Sun Studios, Stax Records, Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, and of course Elvis Presley. But it's also known for some of the best barbecue in the world, specifically pork. I was born there in the mid-60s, so I have pork running through my veins. My doctor tells me it's not good for me, but hey, it is what it is. So barbecue is so big there that thousands of barbecue fanatics from around the country and the world converge every year in Memphis for the Memphis in May World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest, a 4-day competition held at Liberty Park. This event first took place in 1978. Memphis is home to many top-rated barbecue joints like Tops, Loeb's, Leonard's, Central Barbecue, and the Rendezvous, just to name a few. Many of these have been open for decades, like Leonard's first opened in 1922, selling pork sandwiches for 5 cents each. But in 1975, Clyde Gridley and his wife Celeste changed the game when they opened Gridley's Fine Barbecue. After working 6 years as a general manager at Loeb's Barbecue, Mr. Clyde, as he was known, took a chance and opened the first Gridley's on Summer Avenue. His vision was to revolutionize the barbecue experience by combining Southern barbecue with upscale dining. You see, at that time, going out for barbecue as a family probably meant ordering from a counter and eating at a laminate-covered table. Gridley's, however, provided a classy steakhouse experience. When entering their dining room, you were presented with tables covered in white tablecloths, waiters in tuxes with red jackets. Many of those waiters were hired away from the famous Peabody Hotel. A head waiter was available whose job was to make sure each table had everything they needed, along with ensuring the glasses were continually filled with their sweet tea. They even provided warm towels to clean your hands on after eating. The service was impeccable. And the food was just as good. They had a full menu including ribs, pulled or chopped pork, and even items for the ladies that didn't want to get their fingers dirty. Their plates would come with individual pots of beans, best barbecue beans I've ever eaten to this day, coleslaw, house-baked bread, and a green onion. So that's where I learned as a young kid to shake out salt on my plate to dip my green onion in. It's so simple yet so delicious. For me personally, Gridley's was a real treat. I was about 10 years old when we went, but I always ordered the half rack of ribs, the adult version, not the kids' meal. Now, this was almost 50 years ago, so there were some things I don't remember, like the prices. But I can say my parents really knew how to pinch a penny, so for them to take the family to Gridley's as many times as we went meant their prices had to be reasonable. I remember Dad bragging about the place, especially the service, to all his friends, and if we had family come visit, we definitely took them to Gridley's. By 1983, Gridley's had 3 Memphis locations and were about to open their 4th. They had sold franchises in Georgia and Mississippi. But later in that year, tragedy struck the Gridley family. While driving home from his restaurant, Mr. Clyde passed away after an auto accident. This was a major loss to the barbecue community, losing a true visionary. The restaurant name has changed hands and locations over the years, but never recaptured the magic that Clyde and Celeste brought to it. Fondly remembered, you ask any longtime resident of Memphis about Gridley's and they'll have a story to tell you. Gridley's is currently closed, but its legacy lives on through Gridley Revival. This is a family-led effort to bring back some of the products based on what can be found of the original recipes. They offer a rib rub, shrimp rub, and sauces. A link to their website can be found in the description. So let's move into the second part of the video. I'd like to try and recreate my old Gridley's rib plate using what I have on hand, making some assumptions on the Gridley cooking process, and the rib rub provided by Gridley's Revival. I'm going for a classic Memphis dry rub using BabyBacks over direct heat, using charcoal and post oak instead of hickory. I do not have the Gridley's barbecue sauce since they don't ship it yet. Let's start making the beans first. The Gridley's bean recipe is lost to the generations, though Gridley Revival may be selling a kit soon. I'm going to use a throwaway pan for this, though I've already used a cast iron to cook the meat in. So we're going to take a can of Bush's Best Original. Now I've seen recipes with 2 cans. We're just going to do 1 today because it's only me and my wife. And then next we're going to put about a pound of meat, hamburger meat,
Now this is 93.7 because I don't want a lot of grease in there. We're gonna put that in. This is a little bit over a pound. I'm gonna go ahead and use all of it. Okay, next, my wonderful wife that I have did me a favor and chopped up some white onion for me, some sweet onion. That is a half of a whole onion. So it's about that much. You can see that. That's the other half of the onion. We're going to use that later. And also a half of a green pepper. Now these are raw. Normally what I do, anytime I cook meat, hamburger meat, and peppers and onions, I usually saute them together, but this time we're just going to let the smoker take care of it. Now we're also going to come in with a half cup, and this is actually about 3/4 cup of brown sugar, some yellow mustard, however much that is. And then finally, we're going to use a barbecue sauce. Now, since we're staying with the Memphis trend, and again, I'm not sure exactly what Gridley's used, but
Let me pause here and talk about the Gridley barbecue sauce. To be honest, I don't remember it, but I found this entry on a barbecue bulletin board where someone else had described it. I quote, "The barbecue sauce was spectacular and unique. My recollection is that it was reddish, not thick, a little tart, but not vinegary. It had a noticeable whole spices like coriander and cloves, but without an overall spicy taste." Okay, back to the video.
I went to stop by Kroger's last night, and they had a Memphis style, Memphis inspired barbecue sauce. So we're going to use this. And I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to put the whole jar in there. So I said there's one more item, but I lied. There's actually one more. We're going to use the Gridley Revival rub. This is the same rub we're using on the ribs. I'm not sure if they actually did this at Gridley's back in the day, but we're going to do that. Just put some of this in. That should be good. And then we'll mix all this together. Make sure that brown sugar breaks up and gets incorporated throughout. Now we're going to put this in the Texas Smoke King, and it's going to smoke and cook in there at about 250. So it's going to cook the rest of the afternoon. This isn't a real large batch of beans, so, but you can cook these for anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. It just depends on what you want to do. That sugar is going to melt down. It's going to create more liquid in there, and then what you want to do is just basically go in and stir it every hour or so, maybe even every 2 hours. Let that smoke flavor incorporate in there. So there it is. I'm going to put it in the Smoke King now and get it started. I've taken 4 slices of bacon and cut them up into little chunks like about that size, and we're just going to lay this right over the top. Just spread them out there, and as it cooks, these guys will get crunchy. This is another reason we need to leave this in here for a while, to let that bacon give it a chance to cook. So we'll let it sit on top for a bit before we stir it in. I wish I'd have thought of doing this before I put it in here. I'm letting all the heat out. But you do what you got to do. And there's always time for bacon, right? Okay, now that we got that in there and looks like pretty much separated, we're going to close this back up and let it run.
Now onto the coleslaw. Gridley's coleslaw was a unique blend of ingredients, and I've not found any reference to that recipe anywhere on the internet. Instead, we'll ask Mrs. Lone Bull to make hers. She starts by shredding fresh cabbage, carrots, and mixes it with homemade dressing of mayonnaise, vinegar, sugar, salt, and pepper.
Okay. Quarter cup. How much is that?
1/4 of a cup. And a little more for good measure. Salt, pepper, mayonnaise, probably about a cup of mayonnaise.
You mean as much credit as we've been giving you for this over the years, that's all there is to it?
That's all there is to it.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. And that's why it comes out different every time, because I didn't measure anything. Just be careful putting the vinegar in too much, then you'll have very tangy coleslaw.
Okay. Now it goes in the fridge, right?
Now it goes in the fridge.
Okay, we'll see in a bit.
Now for the main event, the BabyBacks. I make a few assumptions, realizing Gridley's was a restaurant, so they didn't remove the membrane or wrap their ribs due to the sheer amount of racks that they cooked a day. Also, I believe they used a direct heat rotisserie back then. I don't have a rotisserie for ribs, so we're going to go direct heat on my chud box. I do end up wrapping at the very end, but I do not add any sauces or liquids to the wrap. One other difference is they used a combination of charcoal and hickory. Today we're going to use a combination of charcoal and post oak.
So let's get the Gridleys started. They're both about the same as far as quality and size. There's a little bit that's going to need to be cleaned up here, just some pieces that are hanging off. I'll clean up real quick. Get some of this fat on top that's not really needed. All that looks good. And then down here, I'm just going to take one rib off and straighten this up. There we go. And then do I need to do the same here? Yeah, I'll probably. Let's clean this up a little bit and just take these last two off. I'll still put them on, and that'll be my snack later. Take some more of that off. It's not needed. These definitely aren't. Don't want to leave these hangers on there like that because they'll basically burn. Okay, so let's score this. I'm just going to do it diagonally. And come back the other way. So these are pretty wet. I don't think we need a binder. I've got some mustard here, but I really don't think we're going to need it. So let me go ahead and put the rub on there. I'm putting it on pretty heavy because it's basically the only thing we're going to do on here. And I'm going to go ahead and sauce the back as well, because like I said, that'll crisp up and that'll be tasty. There we go. One last bit here. Okay, I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes, and we'll come back and throw it on the chub box. Okay, we're going to lay them in bone side down. I'll press them together so they cook right. And we got some of these pieces that we cut off we'll throw in here just to make a snack for later. Okay, we're going to run that about 300 and we'll be back to check on that in an hour. Okay, it's been about an hour. Let's see how these things are looking. Ooh, look at that. Yep. Oh, look at that color on there. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, we're going to let them sit on this side for about an hour. Got my little snackies over here. Okay, it's been about 2.5 hours total so far. Oh man, they smell good. Look at that moisture pooling up there. We got some pullback on the ribs. Not a lot, but we're getting it. Let's see what this side looks like. Oh my goodness, look at that. That looks awesome. Let's see where we're sitting. But they're almost done. 203, 204, that's feeling tender. Down here is 197. One 200 on the end. Okay, I'm going to move these over here to this side. Put these little scraps over here because they're still running about 170, 180. Most of the heat was on this side. Okay, so I'm gonna, the more I think about it, I'm gonna leave them as they are. We're gonna do a Memphis dry rub today, so we're not gonna put any sauce on it. But I'm gonna take this off here in a few minutes, and wrap them in foil and just let them sit and rest. Okay, so this looks like a Gridley's plate to me. They would bring the ribs on a plate to you. Normally I get a half rack. As a kid, my dad would get me a half rack with beans and coleslaw. And you get these little single servings. And then it was up to you to either pull apart the bones or cut them apart. So let's try these out here and see how these are. You know what? I'm going to put these on a cutting board real quick. Happen to have one handy. pull that right apart. And as a kid, this is how I do it. I never used a knife. I would just pull them apart. And take a look at that. See if you can. Looks pretty good, huh? Let's give it a taste. Comes right off the bone. Okay. I remember this is a dry rub. We didn't put any sauce on here at all. This is the Gridley's Revival. It's pretty sweet. It's got a good taste to it. But the ribs are cooked perfectly. Look at them, they just peel right off the bone. And then, as a kid, my favorite part was right here. I'd peel this membrane off. I didn't know that's what it was as a kid. I just, it tasted good, so I pulled it off. Didn't know it was called a membrane. Probably wouldn't have eaten it if I did. Got a little crunch to it. Really soaks up that rub. Oh, that's good. Okay, this is fantastic. I'll definitely be doing these again. This does bring back a little bit of memory. As I mentioned, there's a lot I don't know about their cooking process. I know I would bet money they had a rotisserie that they used to cook their ribs. So I figured I would do it on the direct heat chud box. I don't have any type of rotisserie, but yeah, this turned out good. Now, for the rest, they always gave you an onion, and this is where I learned to put salt on your plate. Put the onion and dip it in salt and just eat it. Fantastic. The breadsticks, I don't remember too much. This is not their breadsticks, but I wanted to have it just for the picture. These are, I'll put the brand in the description. But it's a frozen brand you put in the oven for like, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. And they came out good. Let's move on to the sides. So again, this is Sherry's coleslaw. It is not the same recipe that Gridley's used, but growing up in Memphis tends to really chop their cabbage fine, where you saw, and when Sherry did this, she shredded it in a Cuisinart. But the Memphis coleslaw is really chopped fine, and it really works well on pulled pork sandwiches. I can't eat a pulled pork without putting coleslaw on it. But this is very creamy, sweet, a little bit of sweetness to it. You saw how long it took to put this together? As long as you have an hour or two to put it in the fridge, let it get good and cold, and let everything mix well together. It's good with catfish, hamburgers, anything. Any type of barbecue. Now for the big test. Gridley's beans have a history, at least in my family. We would all go, and when we would go with other families, the mothers never seemed to finish their bowls. So the fathers would. The fathers would eat their bowl and then half of another one. And by the time they got home, it was a rip-roaring good time. Let's just put it that way. Let me get a piece of this bacon. Yeah, this is good. Again, this is not Gridley's recipe. As I mentioned, they are looking to create a packet or some type of package that you can order where you can recreate their beans, but that's not on the market yet. But other Memphis barbecue places, it's very similar to what you get. Maybe not as much hamburger meat as I put in here, but the taste is very similar. This brings back memories of growing up. Let's see how the pups like it. Hey girl, come here. Okay, good girl. Parker, want some more? Okay, now that's for Parker. That's it. Well, this has been a fun video to create. Bring back some memories of Memphis from over 40 years ago. Hey, did you like that? Take a bite of this. And every day you get to cook outside is fun anyway, so this kind of mixed the two of them together. And really, I would highly recommend you give Gridley's Revival a shot. I'll have a link to their website down in the description. Give that rub a try. Again, no sauce, and this is outstanding. Come here. Over here. Over here. You ready? Wait. Okay. Good boy. Okay, well, I'm going to sit here and relive my childhood. Everybody have fun till I see you next time. Cheers.
The original Gridley's may be gone, but its legacy is a reminder of what makes Memphis barbecue so special. Thanks for joining me on this journey down memory lane. Let's keep the spirit of Memphis alive in our backyard barbecues. If you have memories of Gridley's, please drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Also, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Cheers, all.
Somebody please get this man a
Haircut and wipe his mouth.